The incredible life story of Hazrat Asiya, the woman praised by Allah in the Qur'an. For every Pharaoh, there is always an Asiya who stands against him. The Queen of Paradise who turned away from all wealth and power and who shouted her faith against Pharaoh, who said, "I am your Lord." It was not going to be easy to stand against the Pharaoh, especially to protect the believers. The first woman to believe in Musa alayhi salam, one of the 4 women chosen for paradise. The great woman whom Musa alayhi salam called my mother after my own mother. A tower of patience who never gave up her devotion to her Lord despite all the torture. A shining example of taqwa, praised in the Qur'an for the believers, the beloved queen of the palace. The wife of Pharaoh, Asiya. Asiya was not a prophet, not a daughter of a prophet, and not a granddaughter of a prophet. She was the wife of a cruel, despotic dictator. A queen, a lady of the palace. She had everything, but she left it behind because of her belief. Once again, we bring you a shocking story. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like the video to support us. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Many men reached perfection, but among women only Asiya, the wife of Pharaoh, and Maryam bint Imran reached perfection." Here, reaching perfection means rising to the highest level in all virtues and piety. The life of Asiya is mentioned in the Qur'an as the wife of Pharaoh. Her real name was Asiya bint Muzahim. She lived in the 13th century before Christ. The great-grandfather of Asiya, Walid, was the Pharaoh of Egypt during the time of Yusuf alayhi salam. It is also narrated that Asiya was the aunt of Musa alayhi salam and that she believed in him. Pharaoh was the husband of Asiya. He had a crown decorated with precious jewels and pearls, and he ruled a great kingdom. According to the narrations, his grand crown and his large body made him look very impressive to people. His throne stood 4 steps above the ground. The surroundings of his throne were covered with beautiful cushions and soft carpets, arranged for his ministers to sit and for visitors to be hosted. When Pharaoh spoke to someone, they would listen with fear. Because of this fear, people started to praise him and attribute qualities to him that he did not really have. Seeing this, Pharaoh began to claim divinity and tried to protect the traditional belief in idols by exploiting people's feelings. Taking advantage of the people's backwardness and ignorance, Pharaoh did not only claim to be a god, but even said, "I am your supreme lord." While Pharaoh was such a low and evil person, his wife Asiya was a symbol of purity, honesty, chastity, and nobility. While people could not even breathe freely because of Pharaoh's fear and could not sleep peacefully at night, Asiya lived with full faith in Allah and with self-confidence. Even though she lived so close to Pharaoh, she was not frightened at all. The dream of Pharaoh. Pharaoh woke up from his sleep one night, filled with fear and panic. He sat on the edge of his bed, breathing heavily, as if he was going through the pain of death. This fear made Pharaoh fall deep into his thoughts, because he had seen a terrible dream. In his dream, he saw a fire appearing and burning down all the houses and palaces in Egypt. He saw that all the people of Egypt were destroyed, and nothing was left of them. He told these things to his wife Asiya, and when the morning came, he decided to call the chief priest and tell him the dream as well. The chief priest came to Pharaoh with great humility. He lifted his head towards him with a humble look and started praising Pharaoh while bowing down. Pharaoh told him to stand up straight and listen carefully. "O priest, I have seen a terrible dream. Almost every night I see the same dream. I wake up in fear and panic," Pharaoh said. The priest interpreted the dream like this: "My master, a child will be born among Bani Israel. This child will cause the destruction of you, your house, and your family." A deep fear came over Pharaoh. After the priest left the room, Pharaoh started walking around in sadness because of what he heard. He had to find a solution quickly to protect his wealth, position, and kingdom, and to make sure his throne would not be taken away. He could not forget for even a moment what the priest had said. Finally, Shaitan showed him a way. To save himself and his great kingdom, all the male children born among Bani Israel had to be killed. After all, the people of Bani Israel were already being used as slaves. What difference would it make if they died? Because of this fear, Pharaoh ordered that the girls would be left alive, but every male child must be killed one by one. In the Qur'an, it is mentioned like this: "Remember when we saved you from the family of Pharaoh, who was punishing you with the worst torment, killing your sons and letting your women live. In this, there was a great test from your Lord for you." The killing of the male children of Bani Israel made the Egyptian Copts very upset. They said that because the number of Bani Israel was getting smaller every year, they could no longer find enough people to work as servants in their homes and fields. Because of this, Pharaoh ordered that the male children should be killed once every 2 years. Meanwhile, far from the eyes of others, something was being prepared. The time for Yabit to give birth was getting close. She did not know what to do. With all her effort, she had managed to hide herself from those who were watching the pregnancies of the women of Bani Israel. Yabit trusted a loyal friend who helped her hide her pregnancy. This woman came to visit her often during the last months of her pregnancy. Finally, Yabit gave birth to a baby boy. He was a very beautiful baby. She named him Musa. She was so happy, as if the whole world was hers. But when she thought about the fact that this beautiful child could also be taken away and killed, her joy did not last long. As the hours passed, the fear in her heart grew stronger. She was afraid that her baby would be taken from her. Not knowing how to protect her child, Yabit almost lost her mind from sadness. She started to pray to Allah, asking him to show her the right way and to protect her baby from the cruelty of Pharaoh. She prayed a lot. In the end, she became very tired and weak. She fell asleep with the hope that some help would come to save her from this heavy sadness. When she woke up, she felt a great peace in her heart. It was as if all the heavy burdens had been lifted. Now she knew what she had to do. Allah had commanded her to put her baby in a box or a small chest and leave him in the river without fear and with full trust in Allah. She called her daughter and told her to bring a small chest quickly. She placed the baby inside it. With great mercy and love, she held her child one more time, kissed him, smelled him, kissed him again, and smelled him again. With tears in her eyes, she placed her son Musa into the chest and let it float on the waters of the Nile River. She cried as she watched it drift away. The waves of the Nile slowly started carrying the chest. The mother, who had left her baby in the Nile without knowing where he would go, cried deeply with the pain of separation. Allah gave her heart patience and the light of certainty. She leaned on her Lord and trusted him. What else could have comforted her anyway? With hope, the mother went to the sister of Musa and asked her to follow the chest and not take her eyes off it even for a moment. This way, they could find out where the waves of the Nile would carry him. That day, Pharaoh and his wife Asiya were sitting by the Nile during the mid-morning time. They were enjoying the bright beauty of the sun and feeling the cool air. Many servants and people from the palace were around them. Suddenly, Asiya noticed something floating by the edge of the Nile. As it came closer, it became clear what it was: a wooden chest. Asiya called one of the servants and ordered him to bring the floating chest to her immediately. When Asiya opened the chest, she saw something she did not expect: a baby, still at the nursing age, shining like light. The baby quickly became the center of everyone's attention. Everyone was saying, "Look at the beauty of this baby." What kind of hard-hearted person could leave him in the water? Everyone around was interested in the baby. Some were playing with him, some were making him laugh, and some were lifting him up joyfully. When Asiya held the baby in her arms, she felt a strange emotion in her heart. The baby's face looked like that of the people of Canaan. She thought, this must be one of the children of Bani Israel. He had just been born. She began to wonder how he could have escaped from the soldiers. By the permission of Allah, the river had brought the chest right to the palace of Pharaoh. Allah had decided to protect him. Whatever Allah wills will surely happen. Soon she would see this with her own eyes, but for now she was unaware. When Asiya brought the baby to the palace, Pharaoh wanted to kill him, but Asiya stopped him. "Do not kill him," she said. "I see in him a high and bright intelligence, and he looks better than others. Besides, he can be a comfort for us. Maybe one day he will benefit us, or we can adopt him as a son, can't we?" Pharaoh usually did not refuse Asiya's wishes. When he saw how much she wanted the baby, he ordered that the baby be given to her protection. This is how, by the permission of Allah, Musa was saved from being killed by Pharaoh. Asiya looked at the baby in her arms with mercy and started thinking. She was gently touching his hair with compassion. Allah Ta'ala had placed love for this baby in her heart. It felt as if he was her own child. Suddenly the baby started crying loudly. Asiya tried to calm him by whispering sweet words, singing lullabies and rocking him. But nothing worked. The baby would not stop crying. He was hungry and needed someone to breastfeed him. He was still too small. Because of this, a message was sent to the city to find a woman who could nurse the baby. Finally, a woman was found to breastfeed the baby. She took the hungry, crying baby in her arms and tried to feed him, but the baby refused to take her milk. She tried again and again, but it did not work. Here, another plan of Allah Ta'ala was happening. Asiya said, "Servants, find another woman. Don't you see he will die from hunger?" Another wet nurse came and also tried to feed the hungry baby, but she was not successful either. Asiya said, "Bring every woman who has recently given birth and has milk. Even if you have to force them, bring anyone who can breastfeed." So they brought many women. Each woman tried, one by one, to feed the crying, struggling baby. But none of them could succeed. The baby kept crying loudly. Asiya was very confused about what to do with this baby, who would not accept any milk and kept crying from hunger. How could this be? Why was he refusing all of them? The sister of Musa had been secretly following everything from the time he was put in the river until he was taken by Asiya. She heard that her brother refused to take milk from any woman. She realized that this was a perfect chance to bring Musa back to his real mother. She quickly went to Asiya and said, just as it is mentioned in the Qur'an, "Shall I show you a family who will take care of him for you and treat him kindly?" Asiya said, "Yes. This child's crying is breaking my heart. His tears make me very sad. Let's do it immediately." The sister of Musa quickly left the palace and went home. She told her mother everything that had happened, took her hand, and brought her to the palace of Pharaoh. Asiya handed the baby to his mother, Yabit. The moment his mother took him in her arms, the baby stopped crying. He became silent. Longing for his mother, the baby smelled her and turned his head from side to nurse. Finally, he drank her milk deeply and peacefully. Asiya was very pleased with the arrival of this woman. When she saw that she was able to nurse the baby, she gave her a place in the palace and asked her to take care of him. Now, the mother of Musa could see her son every day and live peacefully. The little child of the palace, Musa, won the hearts of everyone with the love of his mother and the affection of Queen Asiya. Musa alayhi salam had reached the age when he could walk. One day, when Pharaoh took him in his arms, Musa pulled and yanked at his beard. Pharaoh almost lost his mind because of what Musa did. Pharaoh became very angry. Deep thoughts came into his heart. He was always afraid of losing his wealth, his throne, and his kingdom. A thought came to him from Shaitan. This child might be the one from my dreams, the one who will take away my kingdom and my throne. He said, "Call the executioners, this is the one." But Asiya quickly jumped up and said, "What sin has this little child committed to deserve death?" Pharaoh said, "Don't you see what he did to me and how he mocked me?" Asiya said, "He is just a baby. He does not know what he is doing." Pharaoh said, "No, this child will destroy me in the future." Asiya said calmly, "Please think again. He is still very small. He does not have any understanding yet. Let me prove it to you. Look, we will put a few pieces of jewels and valuable things on one plate, and on another plate we will put a few pieces of burning coal. If he reaches for the jewels, then he is a smart child and you can kill him. But if he leaves the jewels and reaches for the burning coal, then you will know he is still just a baby who doesn't know anything." Pharaoh liked this idea and agreed. The plates were brought, and as always, by the permission of Allah Ta'ala, a wise event was about to happen. Musa alayhi salam was about to reach for the jewels when Allah Ta'ala turned his hand towards the burning coal. Musa alayhi salam picked up a burning coal and brought it to his mouth, burning his tongue. It is said that this is the reason why Musa alayhi salam later had a slight speech difficulty. After this event, Musa would grow up in the palace of Pharaoh under the protection of Asiya, and he would see her like a mother. The faith of Asiya. After Musa alayhi salam grew up in the palace, one day during a fight, he accidentally killed the baker of Pharaoh. When this news spread, Pharaoh and his people demanded the death of Musa in return for the life he had taken. Because of this, Allah inspired Musa to leave Egypt. Musa left the city and went to the land of Madian, where he settled. Later, he got married there and lived for many years. After many years, Musa set out to return to Egypt with his wife and family. On the way near Mount Tur, he saw a fire. When he approached it, Allah gave him revelation. Allah chose him as a prophet and ordered him to go to Pharaoh and free Bani Israel. Allah also gave Musa two great miracles. When he threw his staff on the ground, it turned into a snake, and when he put his hand inside his shirt and pulled it out, it appeared shining white and bright. Musa went to the palace of Pharaoh with his brother Harun. He delivered the message of Allah and showed his miracles. But Pharaoh called these miracles magic and decided to gather the best magicians in the country so that the people would not believe Musa. A day was set. The people gathered and Musa faced the magicians. Before the competition started, Asiya began to pray with deep longing and hope. She prayed for a long time. Those who saw her thought she was praying for the success of Pharaoh's side. But in reality, she was praying for Musa alayhi salam to win. Then the day came when Musa and the magicians stood facing each other. Asiya watched them from the palace balcony. First, the magicians threw their ropes and sticks, and with magic, they made it look like these objects were moving. Then Musa threw his staff, and by the permission of Allah, his staff swallowed everything the magicians had created. When the magicians saw this, they understood the truth. They immediately fell in sujood and believed in the Lord of Musa. This made Pharaoh very angry. He threatened the magicians and tried to scare them with punishments, but they did not give up their faith. At that very moment, when she witnessed this miracle, our mother Asiya also said, "I believe in the Lord of Musa and Harun." Of course, she was not the only one. Many people among the crowd who saw this miracle also started to believe in Musa. Pharaoh was capturing these people and torturing them. Because of this, many believers were worshipping in secret. One of them was Asiya. She was a sincere woman, firm in her faith. When it was time for worship, she would find an excuse, even if she was in the palace near Pharaoh, and she would go to her room and secretly pray to Allah. Asiya continued to hide her faith and worship for a long time. There were others in the palace who believed secretly too. One of them was a woman named Mashita, who was responsible for combing Pharaoh's daughter's hair. One day, Mashita dropped the comb. She picked it up while saying, "Bismillah, in the name of Allah." The daughter of Pharaoh asked, "Do you mean in the name of my father?" Mashita answered, "He is my Lord, and your father's Lord too." When the girl heard this, she went and told her father. Pharaoh then ordered a large copper furnace to be made and heated. He commanded that Mashita and her baby be thrown into it. First, Mashita was threatened that her baby would be thrown into the fire to make her give up her faith. But Allah helped Mashita, and her little baby spoke to her. He said, "Be patient, because you are on the truth." Hearing this, Mashita agreed to be thrown into the furnace together with her baby. Through this sacrifice, she reached paradise. Here, we want to open a small note. Years ago, a young girl who had died in a fire appeared in the dream of a Muslim. The girl said that even though people said she died burning, she was surprised because she did not feel it. She explained that now she was in a very beautiful place, filled with peace, so even if we see them being burned with our eyes, only those people and Allah know what they truly feel. Yes, Allah is full of mercy. The spiritual state of Asiya and her reaction. Asiya was watching everything from the palace window. When Mashita was killed, Asiya saw that their souls were raised to the heavens. This sight made her faith in Allah even stronger and her devotion even deeper. While she was in this spiritual state watching the angels, her husband Pharaoh suddenly entered the room. He started telling her about Mashita, how they had tortured her. After Pharaoh finished speaking, Asiya said, "Shame on you! Woe to you, Pharaoh! How can you dare to rebel against Allah? How can you torture the believers?" Pharaoh, shocked by these unexpected words, said, "Maybe the madness that came to the woman we tortured has now come to you too." Asiya fearlessly replied, "Know this, I have believed in Allah, who is the Lord of you, me, and all the worlds." Pharaoh then called Asiya's mother, his mother-in-law, and said, "Just like my daughter's hairdresser, your daughter Asiya has also gone mad." After that, Pharaoh said to Asiya, "Either you obey." Then he left the room. Her mother approached and tried to convince Asiya to obey Pharaoh, but Asiya firmly said, "O mother, if what you want is for me to rebel against Allah and disbelieve in him, then know that this will never happen." When Pharaoh heard that Asiya was determined, he went mad with anger. He ordered 4 stakes to be driven into the ground. He had Asiya's hands and feet tied to these stakes and left her under the burning sun to be tortured. After they left her there, the angels came and shaded Asiya with their wings. According to a narration, while Asiya was being tortured, Musa alayhi salam happened to pass by. Asiya tried to signal to him with her finger to explain her situation. Musa alayhi salam made dua to Allah to lighten her suffering. During this time, Asiya made dua, "My Lord, build for me near you a house in paradise. Save me from Pharaoh and his evil deeds, and save me from the wrongdoing people." Allah accepted her prayer and revealed to her, "Lift your head." When she lifted her head, she saw a palace made of pearls in paradise. She smiled immediately. When Pharaoh saw her smiling, he shouted, "Look at this crazy woman who laughs while being tortured." Before a heavy stone could be dropped on Asiya, Allah Ta'ala took her soul, the legacy of Asiya. The grave of Asiya is in Egypt. It is not known at what age she passed away. Allah Ta'ala mentioned the wife of Nuh alayhi salam and his disbelieving wife as examples for those who reject faith, and he mentioned the wife of Pharaoh and Maryam as examples for those who believe. They were given as examples of faith and determination to the believers of today. Because Asiya obeyed her Lord so much that even the presence of her husband, who was the most rebellious and distant person from Allah, could not harm her faith. Asiya was a waliya, a close friend of Allah, one of the Siddiqin, the truthful ones. She chose to be killed rather than to enjoy a kingdom, and she chose to suffer pain in this world rather than to live in its luxuries. When even all the planets are together but you still feel alone, this channel is exactly for you. This video needs support to reach others like you before it gets lost in the YouTube ocean. Every subscriber helps reach another broken heart. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment. You can also help our video reach more people by subscribing to the channel, leaving a comment, and liking the video. It was a terrible summer day. The air was so heavy and hot that it was hard to breathe. When they saw the dark clouds coming, they felt very happy. They thought some rain and cool wind was coming. But this was not the cool air they were waiting for. It was only the beginning of a terrifying punishment, the one the Qur'an calls the punishment of the day of the shadow. The shocking end of the people of Madian and Aika, their brains boiling from inside. They were destroyed under the very shade they trusted. But why? Why did Allah destroy them while they were under the clouds? And why was the punishment so strong? The answers are in the story of Prophet Shu'aib alayhi salam, the father-in-law of Prophet Musa alayhi salam, and in his fight against these corrupted nations. Sadly, even today, many of us do the same things these nations did. This is not just a story of the past. These nations speak to our time and to all of humanity. And all the details are in this video. Before we begin, please subscribe to the channel so you don't miss more Islamic story videos like this one. If you're ready, let's begin. Today, we live in a capitalist system based on unfair profit. This profit-focused way of thinking is taking us away from being truly human. It's a global problem, and with developing technology, it is spreading fast. There was another time in history when this also happened, approximately 1700 years before Isa. Madian was a region between today's Jordan and Saudi Arabia, especially around the Gulf of Aqaba. At that time, things started to go very wrong among the people. The rich wanted to get even richer, so they began to cheat in trade and take others' rights. People were unhappy because they were being tricked with unfair weights and measures. Honesty in trade was forgotten. Everyone was only thinking, if I take more than I should, it's still a win. They stopped caring about justice, but Allah Ta'ala had already given many blessings to everyone. Even so, the people of Madian turned into a nation full of unfair and cruel people. Everyone was trying to hurt or trick each other. At this time, Allah Ta'ala chose Shu'aib, alayhi salam, from among them to be a prophet. He started his mission to call the people of Madian, who were living in wealth and had forgotten Allah, back to the truth. Shu'aib, alayhi salam, had such a beautiful and powerful way of speaking that he was called Khatib al-Anbiya, meaning the speaker of the prophets. He came from the family of Ibrahim, alayhi salam, and his name is mentioned 11 times in the Qur'an. He was sent as a prophet to the people of Madian and the people of Aika. Shu'aib, alayhi salam, prayed a lot and gave great importance to people's rights. He always made sure the weighing tools were fair and worked hard to keep justice among people. Give full measure and do not be among those who cheat. Weigh with a fair balance and do not reduce things that belong to people. Surat Ash-Shu'ara 181 to 183. Shu'aib alayhi salam became a role model not only through his words but also with his actions. One of the main principles of prophets is that they live by the good values they teach others. Shu'aib alayhi salam said, I only want to make things better as much as I can. Surat Hud 88. This shows the importance of sincerity and pure intention in giving advice. Allah praises those who are sincere, but He blames those who act the opposite way. In the Qur'an, it says, do you tell people to be good while you forget about yourself, even though you read the book? Surat Al-Baqarah 44. Prophet Shu'aib was sent not only to the people of Madian, but also as a warner to another group in the region, the people of Aika. Both of these communities lived along trade routes, so their main source of income was trade. These societies had made unfair profit a habit. They were ungrateful for the blessings Allah had given them and showed rebellion by worshipping idols instead of thanking Him. As the message of Shu'aib spread, people from nearby areas began coming to Madian to listen to his words and learn the truth. But the disbelieving people of Madian tried to stop them. They blocked their paths and threatened them. They even tried to prevent those who wanted to learn the true religion from meeting Shu'aib and worked to plant seeds of doubt in the hearts of those who believed, hoping they would also turn away from the truth. Still, Shu'aib alayhi salam continued his mission, just like the other prophets did. He called his people to believe that there is no God but Allah, to accept His prophethood, to be just, to avoid wrongdoing, and not to cause corruption on earth. He warned them with these words, O my people, let not your hatred for me cause you to suffer what happened to the people of Nuh, or the people of Hud, or the people of Salih. And the people of Lut are not far from you either. He also invited them to repent and ask for forgiveness. Ask your Lord for forgiveness, then turn to Him in repentance. Truly, my Lord is full of mercy and love. However, despite all the warnings and invitations of Shu'aib, those who were deeply attached to the worldly life did not listen. For those who refuse to understand, divine warnings have no effect. Still, there were some among this rebellious people who accepted the message of truth. The words of Shu'aib alayhi salam had a strong impact, and many people came to listen to him and believed in his message. Those who believed worshipped Allah, stayed away from lies and tricks in their trade, and remained honest, even if it meant earning less. But, as in every time, the number of true believers was small, and the number of disbelievers was large. The stubborn people thought lawful earnings were too little, looked down on the blessings of Allah, and encouraged wrongdoing. Their love for worldly things pulled them away from the path of Allah. One day, these rebellious people said to their prophet, "O Shu'aib, does your prayer tell us to stop worshipping what our fathers worshipped, or to stop doing whatever we want with our wealth? You are really gentle and wise." Surat Hud 87. What caught their attention was Shu'aib's deep commitment to his religious teachings. The prayer mentioned here refers to turning towards Allah, one of the main acts of worship in every divine religion. Even if the prayer wasn't exactly like today's form, it was made obligatory in different ways for every nation since the time of Adam. Shu'aib alayhi salam continued his mission with patience, despite the threats and pressure from the disbelievers. But eventually, his people threatened to expel him and the believers, or even kill them. At that point, Shu'aib left their fate to Allah. The arrogant leaders among them said, "O Shu'aib, we will surely expel you and those who believe with you from our land unless you return to our religion." Surat Al-A'raf 88. Shu'aib alayhi salam replied, "Even if we don't want to, if we return to your religion after Allah has saved us from it, we would be lying about Allah. It is not possible for us to return to your way unless Allah our Lord wills it." Surat Al-A'raf. The meeting of Shu'aib and Musa. Shu'aib alayhi salam met Musa alayhi salam at a time when his people had turned away from him. Musa had fled from Egypt after accidentally causing the death of a man. He came to Madian to seek safety. Madian was a secure place for Musa because it was not under the rule of Pharaoh. When Musa reached the well of Madian, he saw a group of people waiting to water their animals. In the background, he noticed two young women who couldn't water their animals until the shepherds left. The women explained that their father was old, so they were doing the work instead. Musa alayhi salam helped them water their animals without expecting anything in return. Then he withdrew to the shade and prayed, "My Lord, I am truly in need of whatever good you send down to me." Surat Al-Qasas 24. The women were impressed by Musa's kindness and modesty. They immediately told their father, Shu'aib alayhi salam, about him. Shu'aib sent one of them to call Musa. The Qur'an says, "My father is inviting you so he can reward you for watering our animals." Surat Al-Qasas 25. Musa went to Shu'aib and told him everything that had happened in Egypt and how he had escaped. Shu'aib comforted him, saying that he was now safe from Pharaoh's cruelty and in a secure land. He welcomed Musa as a guest and offered him food. One of Shu'aib's daughters suggested that her father hire Musa because he was strong and trustworthy. Then Shu'aib said, "I want to marry one of these two daughters of mine to you, in return for working for me for 8 years. If you complete 10, that will be from your own goodness. I do not want to make it hard for you." Surat Al-Qasas 27. Musa accepted the offer and replied, "This is an agreement between me and you. Whichever of the two terms I complete, there is no blame on me. Allah is a witness over what we say." Surat Al-Qasas 28. Musa alayhi salam married Shu'aib's younger daughter Safura. During the agreement period, he stayed with Shu'aib and learned important lessons about delivering the message and good character. Allah prepared Musa for prophethood by allowing him to grow and learn beside Shu'aib, who was known as Khatab al-Anbiya. The modest behavior of Shu'aib's daughters and the kindness of Musa set a beautiful example for young people who are at the age of marriage. When facing the corrupt behavior of his people, Shu'aib alayhi salam turned to his Lord and prayed, "Our Lord, decide between us and our people with truth, for you are the best of those who give judgment." Surat Al-A'raf 89. But the arrogant leaders of his people rejected his message and tried to mislead others. They said, "If you follow Shu'aib, then surely you will be losers." Surat Al-A'raf 90. When Shu'aib alayhi salam saw that there was nothing more he could do for these misguided people, he said, "O my people, do whatever you can, and I will do mine. Soon you will know who will suffer a disgraceful punishment and who is lying. Wait, I too am waiting with you." Surat Hud 93. The destruction of the people of Madian. The last words they would ever hear were those of Prophet Shu'aib, alayhi salam. Right after that, the punishment of Allah came. The people of Madian were suddenly struck by a powerful earthquake. Houses collapsed, and the streets turned into ruins. Everyone was in panic, not knowing what to do. Then a terrifying sound followed. It was so loud that people fell down where they stood. This disaster completely destroyed the people of Madian. The Qur'an describes this moment. Then the earthquake seized them, and they were left dead in their homes, lying face down. Surat Hud 94. The wrongdoers were seized by a mighty blast, and they fell lifeless in their homes as if they had never lived there. Surat Hud 94-95. But Shu'aib alayhi salam and those who believed in him were saved by the mercy of Allah. After the destruction, Shu'aib said to his people, "O my people, I conveyed to you the messages of my Lord and gave you good advice. So why should I feel sorry for a people who disbelieve?" Surat Al-Araf 93. The destruction of the people of Madian became a warning in history, just like the destruction of other nations who disobeyed Allah and denied their prophets. Shu'aib's migration to Aika. In the end, after the people of Madian were destroyed by a violent shake and a terrible sound, Shu'aib alayhi salam migrated with the believers to the region of Aika. There, he continued calling people to the true religion. Aika means a place full of thick forests. The people there were known as the people of Aika because they worshipped trees. While the people of Madian lived in a city, the people of Aika lived in a valley. Geographically, this area stretched from the Red Sea coast to the region of Madian. Those who lived there were called the Aika people. There were trade and family connections between the people of Madian and Aika. Just like the people of Madian, the people of Aika lived in wealth and comfort, but they had turned away from truth and guidance. Shu'aib alayhi salam was also sent to guide them. Although they lived in abundance, the people of Aika associated partners with Allah, denied their prophet, and cheated in trade, oppressing others. Their behavior was very similar to the people of Madian. The people of Aika also denied Shu'aib alayhi salam. They made the same threats, as if they had learned nothing from the destruction of their neighbors. Even though the people of Madian had just been wiped out, the Aika people blamed the earthquakes on nature or their idols, instead of realizing that it was the punishment of Allah. The day of destruction for the people of Aika. At last, the day arrived. It was an extremely hot summer day for the people of Aika. For 7 days, they were tested with unbearable heat. There wasn't a single cloud in the sky. Even the shade of the trees could not protect them from the scorching sun. The wells dried up, water sources vanished, and the people desperately searched for a cool place. On the 8th day, a cloud appeared in the sky. This cloud gave the people hope. "We are saved," they shouted with joy, calling each other to gather under its shade. Children, elders, women, and men, everyone rushed to stand beneath it, hoping to find some relief. They believed the dark clouds would bring coolness and rain. But for a people who worship material things and false causes, Allah was about to show how He could change the laws of nature by His will. A cloud can bring coolness if Allah wills. A cloud can bring rain if Allah wills. But if Allah commands otherwise, even the fire, like the fire of Ibrahim alayhi salam, can act differently. Fire doesn't burn because it is fire, but because Allah tells it to burn. And if Allah commands the cloud to bring fire instead of water, it will do just that, even fire that cannot be seen. So this shade was not their salvation as they thought, it was the beginning of divine punishment. The Qur'an describes this moment. Then the punishment of the day of the shadow seized them. It was truly the punishment of a great day. Surat Ash-Shu'ara 189. How powerful and terrifying is the phrase, punishment of the day of the shadow, in the Qur'an. As they stood waiting under the cloud, a terrible sound suddenly came from the sky. It was so loud, it pierced their hearts. Then the ground began to shake. The earth cracked open as if it wanted to throw the people off its back. Everyone ran in fear and panic, but there was nowhere to escape. At that moment, fire began to rain down from the sky. The cloud turned the air into a burning hell. The people of Asiya, who stubbornly resisted the truth, were completely destroyed. The Qur'an summarizes their end. The people of Asiya were indeed wrongdoers, so we destroyed them. Surat Ash-Shu'ara 176 to 177. This punishment was a sign of Allah's justice. Allah gave a strong lesson to the enemies of faith, those who insulted the believers, drove them out of their homes, and killed them. Only Shu'aib, alayhi salam, and those who believed in him were saved by the mercy of Allah. Whether the destruction of the people of Asiya will serve as a lesson to today's enemies of Allah, I do not know. But for the believers, Allah's help is always near. Even though there are no prophets today, there are scholars and pious people walking in their footsteps. Around them are small, sincere groups. Just like in the past, the majority of the world today continues in rebellion and arrogance. That's why in our times too, we will sadly see more earthquakes and natural disasters. These are not just events, they are warnings from Allah for us to correct ourselves. The calls of Shu'aib, alayhi salam, were not just for the people of his time. They carry lessons for people living today as well. Sadly, the negative traits seen in the people of Madian and Asiya can still be found in many modern societies. Cheating in trade, injustice, spreading corruption, and being ungrateful to Allah are often seen as normal behaviors today. But the message of Shu'aib was based on honesty, good character, and full submission to Allah. That's why his message is still valid. People should live and trade with honesty, driven by the fear of Allah and moral values from religion. They must protect order on earth and avoid corruption. Even those who do not believe should allow others the freedom to believe. If not, the fate of past nations who were destroyed could return in the future. One of the most important duties of believers is to show good character, be an example to others, and continue living by the morals of the Qur'an, warning those around them. The Qur'an says, "Let there be a group among you who call to goodness, command what is right, and forbid what is wrong. These are the ones who will succeed." Surat Al-Imran 104. Please help us spread this message to more people. Like, share, and comment on this video. That way, we can reach even the most distant corners of the world and touch the hearts of people you may never meet. May Allah be pleased with you. May He protect all of us from His enemies, from Shaitan, and from our own nafs. Pyramids, the lost Aryan race, mysterious holes, aliens, the legendary city of Atlantis, a giant ice wall. This white desert has been home to many myths, legends, and mysteries throughout history. Antarctica. What are they hiding inside? The most remote and least explored continent on Earth was actually drawn on old maps by Piri Reis and others. Surprisingly, the area we know today as frozen and covered in ice for millions of years was shown as green, warm, and full of life on those maps. And that's not all. Some fossils point to human-like beings with long skulls. Trips to this continent are very limited and strictly controlled. Are there big secrets hidden in Antarctica that only a few special people know about? Right after World War II, powerful countries rushed to take control of this land. America's secret experiments there made people even more suspicious. Today, we'll explore the mysterious stories told about Antarctica and look at the hidden truths behind them. Welcome to Religious Story TV. There are two of us behind this channel, and we work very hard. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel so our work can reach more people. If you're ready, let's begin. Now we come to the shocking part. A group of archaeologists from the Smithsonian Institution in the United States found 3 long human-like skulls in Antarctica. Alien skulls have been discovered in many parts of the world. These skulls are stretched backward in shape, and some claims say that a few even have horns. Their faces look like humans, so people think they were intelligent beings. But finding such fossils on this continent goes against traditional history. That's because Antarctica was believed to have never been visited by humans before, so scientists are wondering if they might be from beings that are not from Earth. Other long skulls were also found in Peru and Egypt. Their mystery still continues, as official history and science can't explain them, or maybe they are just one more truth being hidden from us. Some researchers insist that beings from other worlds have visited us. They also believe that civilizations in Africa, South America, and Antarctica were in contact with each other thousands of years ago. Still, scientists are not sure if artificial skull shaping can also change the volume of the skull. These strange skulls have many other physical features that are very different from normal human skulls. Especially after the recent statements in the US Senate about aliens and the military hiding information. It seems this discovery might also be hidden, and we may only learn the truth in the future. Some researchers claim that alien technology was found in Antarctica and is being kept in secret bases. For example, in 2018, a UFO-like object was spotted in Antarctica using Google Earth images. In 2024, scientists from the University of Gothenburg in Sweden discovered strange new structures under the Dotson ice shelf in West Antarctica. These structures are shaped like teardrops, and some are up to 300 meters long. They are located at the bottom of the ice shelf and attracted a lot of interest from scientists. These kinds of claims often come up because Antarctica is mysterious and hard to explore. But scientific communities say that there is no strong proof yet that links these structures to aliens. Some sources believe that biological weapons or genetic engineering experiments are being done in Antarctica. There are scary claims that human DNA is being mixed with other living creatures in experiments. Also, some say that studies on dangerous diseases or antibiotic resistance are happening in Antarctica because it is so isolated. We know that Nazi Germany carried out some expeditions to the South Pole before World War II. Right after these events, in 1946-47, the United States launched the largest Antarctic operation in history, called Operation High Jump. Led by the famous Admiral Richard Byrd, this mission became the foundation of many modern legends about Antarctica. After hundreds of years of myths, the idea of the lost southern lands was finally proven in 1820, when the Russian Imperial Navy officially discovered Antarctica. After this discovery, despite the harsh climate, many countries lined up to explore the continent. The first large-scale expedition was carried out between 1928 and 1930, again led by Admiral Byrd. During this mission, the first military and scientific base, called Little America 1, was built on the Ross Ice Shelf. Byrd led several more expeditions to the region in the following years. But the Americans were not the only ones exploring Antarctica. Nazi Germany also organized expeditions to the continent in 1938 to 1939. Some legends even claim that the Nazis were searching for Atlantis during these missions. What adds a truly mysterious dimension to the story are the claims that toward the end of the war, as the Nazis accepted defeat, some of their advanced military technologies, and according to some, even Hitler himself, were secretly taken from Germany to a base in Antarctica, and from there to Argentina and Chile. Of course, this theory is not supported by solid proof. However, there are strong documents showing that some high-ranking Nazi officers escaped to South America after the war, changed their identities, and lived there. So, it's hard to say that all of these claims are completely made up. Maybe they really did hide some advanced technologies under the ice. Whether you connect these theories to Nazi technology, to the legend of Atlantis, or to something else entirely, right after the war, the United States sent over 4,000 soldiers and scientists to Antarctica with a massive fleet. This began the most comprehensive research project in the region's history. Officially, the mission's purpose was to test technology in extremely cold weather, study the geology and climate of the region, and carry out scientific research. But according to some, that was just the surface explanation. The real goal, they claim, was to make contact with an advanced civilization said to be living under the thick ice layers. According to some stories, Admiral Byrd entered a massive underground opening during one of his exploration flights. Inside, he was met by representatives of a different civilization. They shared knowledge with him and then let him go. Some versions of the story even mention conflicts with these beings. Of course, these alien or underground civilization claims didn't just appear from one mission. In the following decades, ice core studies revealed that Antarctica was once a temperate continent, covered with tropical forests and home to many life forms. Geological research also showed that the continent used to be located closer to the equator. One of the most surprising discoveries was that the land beneath the ice closely matched the shape shown on the Orontius Phineus map, drawn almost 500 years ago. When all these facts came together, a kind of Antarctica craze began around the world. Hapgood's theories and ideas suddenly attracted great attention. The thought that an ancient civilization was still waiting beneath the ice inspired books, articles, and documentaries. Antarctica quickly became one of the planet's biggest mysteries. And just as global interest peaked, in 1959, the Antarctic Treaty was suddenly signed in Washington, with 12 countries participating. This treaty greatly restricted access to the continent and limited independent research. Naturally, people began to ask, why shut down such an important discovery zone, especially after the war was over and technology had advanced? Why aren't planes allowed to freely fly over the continent? Why is it still protected under such secrecy, especially now when satellite images are revealing strange structures beneath the ice? It's hard not to ask these questions, and the more we learn, the more questions seem to appear. So let's take it step by step. One of the main reasons behind the global interest in Antarctica after America's research missions was the desire of countries to control land in the region, especially its rich natural resources. Let's do a simple comparison. While Russia's known oil reserves are around 80 billion barrels, the Ross Sea area in Antarctica alone is estimated to hold around 50 billion barrels of oil. This doesn't even include other coasts or the inner parts of the continent. After World War II, the world entered a period of rapid industrialization. Any rush to claim Antarctica could have triggered a new war between countries and caused serious damage to nature. Because of this, the Antarctic Treaty was signed in 1959. According to the treaty, extracting natural resources and military activities on the continent were banned. Now we're diving into a more interesting topic: maps. Some ancient maps from thousands of years ago mention the existence of Antarctica, and not just as a frozen land, but ice-free. Could this be a reference to the lost city of Atlantis, or perhaps an entirely different ancient civilization? You decide. There was a philosopher in ancient Greece who talked about the existence of Antarctica, long before it even had a name. Yes, quite surprising, isn't it? This person was the Greek philosopher Claudius Ptolemy. He was also known as an astronomer, mathematician, geographer, and astrologer, a truly extraordinary figure. In his works, left at the famous Library of Alexandria, the knowledge center of the ancient world, Ptolemy spoke about a huge landmass in the south of the Earth. That land was Antarctica. He referred to it as the unknown southern lands. But how could he talk about Antarctica in the year 150 AD, which is about 1650 years before its official discovery in 1820? Ptolemy accepted Aristotle's idea that the Earth is round. To support this idea, he believed there must be a heavy landmass in the south to balance the planet, just like in the north. That's why he mentioned Antarctica, not because he saw it, but based on his calculations. At least that's what we think today. He called this idea the balance theory. Back then, there was also a common belief in Greece. They thought all the seas on Earth were surrounded by one big landmass, so the seas were actually inner seas inside this giant land. Because of this belief, they thought there must be a large land at the edge of the oceans. Today's flat Earth theories and the idea of a giant wall at the poles come from these ancient Greek beliefs. According to the flat Earth theory, the Earth is shaped like a disk, and Antarctica forms the outer edge of this disk. The ice wall theory is also part of the flat Earth model. It claims that there is a massive ice wall beyond Antarctica, preventing the ocean's waters from spilling over the edge. Supporters of these theories are not insignificant in number, especially since ancient maps, such as those by Piri Reis and Orontius Phineus, depict Antarctica without ice, and similar beliefs existed in ancient Greece. According to some claims, NASA is manipulating satellite images. Another theory suggests that the secret purpose of the Antarctic Treaty, signed in 1959, is to prevent people from reaching the edge of the world and to conceal the existence of the ice wall. They also cite the strict entry restrictions and military presence in Antarctica as further evidence supporting their claims. The fact that certain areas of Antarctica appear censored on Google Earth, along with the existence of numerous conspiracy theory books and films about the continent, strengthens these beliefs. Of course, the widespread sharing of such ideas on social media also increases their influence. Naturally, these are not scientifically accurate claims. We included them in our video simply because they are conspiracy theories related to Antarctica. Some even say the Qur'an supports these ideas, but since there are no clear verses on the matter, so we won't comment and will continue with now different part of Antarctica claims. Ptolemy's idea of a mysterious southern land turned into a myth and a goal over time. For hundreds of years, European sailors competed to be the first to find it. As sailing technology improved over 1,300 years, the age of exploration began. Brave sailors started crossing vast oceans to find unknown lands. And slowly, maps began to show more details about our planet. Maps showing the coasts of North America, maps of Asia, and eventually larger maps combining all of them. It seemed like the mysteries of the world were finally being solved. Until the year 1511, when the great Ottoman sailor Piri Reis shocked the world with a very mysterious map. A famous map that showed Antarctica before it was even discovered. And more amazingly, before it was covered in ice. Piri Reis created a very large and detailed map, which even included parts of the American continents. What we have now is only a small surviving part of a much larger map. Even though it's just a small piece, it shows something very valuable for its time, the west coast of Africa and the east coasts of both North and South America. But at the bottom of the map, we also see a strange landmass. Today, we know that area is Antarctica. Another map published in 1531 supports this idea. It's the map by Orontius Phineus, and it's considered one of the most mysterious maps related to Antarctica. He drew a landmass very similar to Antarctica, and he showed it in great detail, without ice, with rivers and mountains. The land looks very similar to what we now see in modern radar-based topographic maps. The map even includes the words southern lands. What makes this more mysterious is that the coastline shown on the map looks very much like the parts of Antarctica hidden under the ice, and these hidden coastlines were only revealed much later using sonar technology in the 20th century. That's why some theorists suggest that Orontius Phineus's map may have been inspired by an older, unknown source. Together with the Piri race map, this is one of the most debated and mysterious maps in history. Unfortunately, not enough research has been done on this topic. Even though it sounds impossible, it's very interesting that someone was able to draw Antarctica before it was covered in ice. This is exactly where theories about help from aliens or spiritual powers begin to appear. Because neither the technology nor the climate at that time made this possible, a scholar would take this topic seriously. He would claim to have found Atlantis, the advanced utopia described in the writings of the famous philosopher Plato, who lived thousands of years ago. This scholar was Charles Hutchins Hapgood, born in 1904. He studied history at Harvard University and later became a professor of history. Hapgood dedicated his life to solving the mystery of the lost southern continent found in old maps. He studied many sources, from ancient Greek legends to the drawings of Orontius Phineus, and presented a fascinating theory. According to Hapgood, the cartographic methods used in those old maps were far ahead of their time. The coastlines, especially in the area believed to be Antarctica, were drawn in surprisingly accurate detail. Combining these findings with mythological stories, Hapgood claimed that a pre-Ice Age civilization had passed down advanced technical knowledge to humanity. This is what we know today as the pre-flood civilization theory. He believed this civilization had advanced knowledge of navigation, and they lived in the southern lands mentioned by both the ancient Greeks and Orontius Phineus. But there was one big difference. According to Hapgood, the continent we now call Antarctica was once located in a much warmer climate, in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, and a highly developed civilization once lived there. It was said that this civilization sailed to the Americas, Europe, and Africa, and shared its ancient knowledge with the people they met. But around 12,000 years ago, a disaster known as the Younger Dryas period struck, and the continent shifted to its current position and became covered in ice. So, what about continents changing places? Other scientists of the time strongly rejected Hapgood's claim. They said, "How can entire continents move? That's scientifically impossible." But what they didn't realize was that continents are actually always moving, and this idea wasn't originally Hapgood's either. Back in 1912, Alfred Wegener was the first to suggest that continents move. At that time, the scientific community didn't take him seriously. In fact, they even mocked him. Years later, especially in the 1950s, scientists began mapping the ocean floor. They discovered huge cracks running along the seabed. Then, in 1968, Robert Parker and Dan Mackenzie developed the plate tectonics theory, giving this idea a solid scientific base. Finally, in the 1970s, with the use of GPS technology, it was clearly proven that continents actually move, even if only by a few millimeters per year. This shows that science is never fixed. It keeps growing and changing. Scientific progress comes from open-minded and brave thinkers, not from people who limit their thoughts to what's already accepted. Just look at Wegener. When he introduced his theory in 1912, his colleagues laughed at him. But by the 1970s, his theory was proven true. That's why when someone comes up with a strange scientific idea, we shouldn't reject it right away. We should look at it as a possibility. Even if there's no proof at that moment, it might become a scientific fact in the future. Both science and philosophy require an open mind. This is something we should never forget. However, we should also note that there's a big difference between the theory of plate tectonics and Hapgood's claim. Plate movements are very slow, and visible changes in continents take millions of years. But Hapgood claimed that Antarctica, a continent almost as big as North America, shifted to the South Pole in a short time. That's definitely a bold and extreme claim. Hapgood tried to base his unusual theory on a scientific foundation. According to him, beneath the Earth's outermost layer, the lithosphere which we live on, there is a molten layer called the asthenosphere, located about 200 to 400 kilometers deep. The movements we know as plate tectonics happen thanks to this fluid layer. But Hapgood presented a radical idea. Around 12,000 years ago, an enormous event took place, so powerful that the entire lithosphere of the Earth suddenly shifted its position at an extraordinary speed. This huge shift, he said, caused the great destruction described in ancient texts as the Great Flood. This kind of event is extremely difficult, but not entirely impossible in theory. Still, Hapgood's theory was not taken seriously by most academic circles. However, we must remember that the science of geology still has many unknowns. So just like in the past, saying this is impossible might be too early. Maybe a massive unknown disaster really happened thousands of years ago. Over time, Hapgood's theory began to be connected with the lost continent of Atlantis. The idea that ancient civilization ruins might be hidden beneath Antarctica's thick ice, which is nearly 5 kilometers deep, became popular in modern culture. And it wasn't just Hapgood who made this theory popular. Now let's talk about the mysterious objects often seen on the internet. For example, that famous image of something that looks like a crashed UFO dragged along the ground. These types of photos have been around for years, but most of them either have scientific explanations or are completely misleading due to how they're presented. Even though this claim became popular, when you look at the uncropped version of the image, it's clear that it's just a rock that rolled down a mountain slope. But what about the pyramid shapes? Now that could have been really interesting if they weren't in Antarctica. Normally it's rare to see sharp edges in nature. Wind and water erosion usually smooth out the edges, but glacial erosion is different. Glaciers can carve even the hardest rocks with sharp edges like a knife. That's why in places that were once covered by glaciers, you often see mountains with sharp peaks. So what about the mysterious tunnel entrances? That part is true. Yes, there are dozens of fake photoshopped images, but there are also real large cave entrances on the continent that open in summer and close in winter. Still, calling them alien landing pads right away is clearly wrong. They might just be natural ice caves. Making assumptions without going there in person is a mistake. Now the big question, could there really be traces of a civilization beneath 3 to 5 kilometers of ice? That's an important topic worth discussing. Could Hapgood's theory be right, that during a cataclysmic period around 12,000 years ago, the continents shifted? It's a bold idea, but definitely thought-provoking. And could Atlantis, which is said to have been an island nation, have shifted toward the South Pole and frozen over? Modern science says this isn't possible, since Antarctica has been covered in ice for millions of years. It also shows that the last time the continent was near the equator was around 20 million years ago, when the continents were still closer together. But was there anyone living on the planet 20 million years ago? We don't know. Maybe a civilization really did exist and vanished over time. Normally, no trace of a civilization would survive for that long. Nature would erase everything. But Antarctica has been frozen solid for millions of years, so maybe some things were preserved, and we could only discover them if the massive ice melts one day. Otherwise, drilling through 3 to 5 kilometers of ice in -80 degrees Celsius conditions is a very tough challenge, especially when you consider that Antarctica covers 16.6 million square kilometers. That's huge. So these are the known facts about Antarctica. Even without aliens or Nazis in the story, the continent is still extremely mysterious, especially from a scientific point of view. And it seems like as long as the ice is there, Antarctica will keep its secrets for quite a while longer. But who knows? Maybe one day, due to global warming, something hidden under thinner ice will finally reveal itself. And if something truly real is discovered, I promise I'll be the first to make a video about it. If you've done your own research about Antarctica and have some real facts or information that I didn't mention today, please write it in the comments. Let's discuss it together. After all, we're talking about a frozen, mysterious land, 98% of which is still unexplored. Thank you all for watching this video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for similar content. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video.